This presentation introduces Lantern, a multi-format publishing toolkit. My name is Chris Diaz, and I'm the digital publishing librarian at Northwestern University. I am joined today by Lauren McKeen McDonald, the open education librarian. Together, we made a toolkit to help librarians apply minimalist principles to OER publishing. In 2020, we received a grant from the ARL Venture Fund to develop a free OER publishing toolkit using GitHub and open source software. Lantern is the result of our work on this project. We were motivated to develop a toolkit that teaches fundamental digital skills that can be applied in a variety of library-based publishing contexts. After bPress was acquired by Elsevier in 2017, I adopted minimal computing approaches to library publishing in order to reduce our reliance on publishing platforms and increase our capacity to use and support open source software. The problem, however, was that this made it difficult for other librarians to easily participate in the publishing process. Lantern is essentially a way to help onboard librarians to new skills that we believe are important for OER publishing. We were inspired by the minimal computing community. Minimal computing is a critical framework for applying technology constraints around the production and dissemination of digital texts. It is especially concerned with the longevity and accessibility of texts in a world where global inequities in computing power, software licensing, and network capacity exist. In practice, we made Lantern around 4 technology pillars: structured plain text, open source software, version control, and static web technologies. Lantern is a toolkit for making and publishing OER in multiple formats. We call Lantern a toolkit because it includes many different components. It is a template GitHub repository. It is a set of workflow instructions. It is a collection of document templates for each output format, and it is entirely free. We do not consider Lantern to be an all-in-one publishing solution. It is rather a methodology and guidebook that uses open source software and free-to-use web services. All of the source control, processing, and web hosting is handled automatically by GitHub, but you are encouraged to use Lantern on your own computer and infrastructure, meaning you can use Lantern completely on the web through the web interface, or you can download everything and install Lantern's software and dependencies on your own computer. Here are some screenshots and a URL to an example OER textbook we built with Lantern. Lantern creates a static website for the full text of the OER, in addition to a PDF, EPUB, and docx version. All of the hosting for a Lantern project by default is using GitHub Pages, which is a free web hosting service, but you can use any other web hosting service you have access to. Lantern is powered by Pandoc. Pandoc is a universal document converter that is available as open source software and is typically used as a command line utility. It is available for all operating systems, and it can convert between dozens of file formats. For each conversion, there are nearly 100 configuration options available, and it can be really difficult to use and learn effectively if you're unfamiliar with command line tools. So what Lantern does is it simplifies the use of Pandoc for OER publishing and production use cases.
To give you a high-level overview of how Lantern works, we designed the workflow under the assumption that most authors are working in Microsoft Word or Google Docs to start. So step 1 of the process is to copy the Lantern repository either to your computer or to GitHub, depending on your workflow. Once you're ready to upload your manuscript for publishing, you will add it to your repository where it will be automatically converted into the source code, which in our case is Markdown. This conversion is done with Pandoc, but that's not something that you have to worry about or do yourself because Lantern does it for you. From there, you will do some cleanup and editing, and then once your OER is ready to publish, you can run a few simple commands to have the source code converted into either an HTML static website, a PDF, EPUB, Word document, or all 4. We've included docx as an output format to make it easy for other authors to be able to download, adapt, and then republish what you've created. There's some preparation you'll want to do to your manuscript before adding it to Lantern for conversion. You can do this using the native styles tools within Microsoft Word or Google Docs. Taking this step will ensure that semantic elements are converted into Markdown format and then retained for the final conversion. In this example, you can see on the left that we are using a heading 1 for the title, and then bold for the author, and heading 2 for the section title. On the right is the same chapter that has been converted to Markdown, and you can see the hash mark at the top, the asterisks, and then the 2 hash marks, that those styles have been retained and just converted into Markdown. To get started, you'll need to create a GitHub account. Once you log in, visit Lantern's repository page. I believe that we've shared the link already, but we'll make sure that you have it before our presentation is done. Click the large green Use This Template button to copy the repository to your own repository where you can begin working. One of the first things that you'll do once you've copied the repository is to update your project's metadata. For this, we use YAML, which is a plain text file format for storing data. In our case, we're concerned with the bibliographic metadata, so by that we mean the title, authors, publication year, and DOI, for example. YAML works with key value pairs, with each key representing the metadata field. Lantern provides all the instructions needed to update this section of your text, so if what you see here doesn't include some fields that you think would be important for your text, we can teach you how to add those. Another bit of manuscript prep that you'll need to do is before uploading your manuscript to Lantern for conversion, we recommend separating the content into chapters and then giving them a standardized naming convention. You'll then upload these files to a folder within your repository called Original. Once added, they will be automatically converted into Markdown using the processing power of GitHub. The next step is to visit the text folder where all of your converted files will appear in Markdown format. At this point, you'll want to open each of the chapters and check to make sure that the conversion happened properly. You'll be editing the files in Markdown. You can use GitHub's built-in editor to do this, but we also encourage you to use your own editor, such as VS Code, Visual Studio Code, or Notepad++ to finish production editing of the content. This is a screenshot of GitHub's built-in text editor. After you've made your edits to the Markdown text, you can click on the preview button to see what it will look like. Once you're done editing, you'll scroll down and then you can describe the change that you're making and click commit to save the changes to your repository. One of the biggest advantages of using GitHub is the source control that it offers, or the ability to track changes within your document. In this example, this is a particular chapter, a version of a chapter, and on the left is the original. On the right is the edited version. It's showing them both all in one window. And unlike Word documents where you'll save new versions as separate files, GitHub allows you a powerful way to track changes without having to create or saving new files. Lantern published texts also include the ability to embed interactive web content and media. In this example, this is an interactive diagram that is embedded within a material science and engineering text that we're working on. In addition to diagrams, you can embed videos, audio, or anything that has an embed code. You can also use design elements to create an interactive experience. In this example, a student could hide or show a solution to a problem using the design elements. And now I'm going to pass it back to Chris to talk about accessibility.
For us, Markdown has helped us create more accessible OER because it enforces the use of semantic headings and alt text for images. The ability to generate multiple output formats provides more options for accessing the material. HTML and EPUB, in our experience, tends to be more accessible than PDF, DocX, or LaTeX. However, there is more to accessibility than assistive technologies, and it really depends on how you edit and organize the specific content you're working on. We have a wiki set up on our GitHub repository with documentation and tutorials on getting started with Lantern. Please let us know if anything on the wiki is unclear or missing, as we are always trying to make improvements to it. Lantern uses static web technologies because they are cheaper and easier to maintain than traditional web applications. Static websites eliminate application dependencies common in traditional web architectures. There is no database and there is no content management system. Therefore, there are fewer, if not zero, security vulnerabilities with static websites. Databases and content management systems are great for websites that are constantly changing. However, in our experience, library publications are rarely updated after they are completed. The simplicity of static websites is why there are a variety of free hosting options, including GitHub Pages, GitLab Pages, Netlify, Render, and Amazon Web Services. If this approach seems interesting to you, I recommend checking out LibStatic, a small community of librarians who use static websites for all sorts of digital projects. We hope that one of the benefits of using Lantern or Lantern-esque tools is sustainability. Plain text, and Markdown in particular, was designed to be easy to read and easy to write and publishable as is. This means that the source material for our OER projects can be stored and preserved without concern over file format or software obsolescence. From an administrative angle, we believe that support for outreach, education, and creation are the most important elements of a successful OER program. We designed Lantern to enable librarians to have a robust and extensible publishing workflow with the fewest technology and maintenance costs so that more resources can be directed towards the labor of OER adoption and creation. Lantern is a work in progress, and we are hard at work at Northwestern using it on our own OER projects. We hope you'll check it out and talk to us soon about it.